सदा शिवसमारम्भाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ सहना
सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya, everybody.
Om Namah Shivaya, Acharya.
So, as you know, we are starting a new Upanishad today, Taittiriya Upanishad. And I'm going to ask Arvind to chant the Shanti mantra. Most of you all who have done the TTC are familiar with this. But this mantra, he'll chant it with the correct swaras. And if you can follow faithfully, it'll be great. So, Arvindji, please go ahead.
Namaste. So I will chant one line and others will repeat the same line twice. Om Shanno Mitra Varunah.
Om Shanno Mitra
Varunah.
Shanno Mitra Varunah. Twice?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Twice. Are we repeating twice or once?
Yeah, we'll repeat twice after you. So do it again.
Om Shanno Mitra Varunah.
Om Shanno Mitra Varunah.
Shanno
Mitra Varunah.
Shanno Bhavat Varjama.
Shanno Bhavat Varyama.
Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi.
Shanna
Indro Brihaspatihi.
Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi.
Shanno Vishnurukkramaha.
Shanno Vishnurukkramaha.
Shanno Vishnurukkramaha.
Namo Brahmane.
Namo
Brahmane.
Namo Brahmane.
Namaste Vayo.
Namaste Vayo. Namaste Vayo.
Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi.
Tvameva
Pratyaksham Brahmasi.
Tvameva
Pratyaksham
Brahmasi.
Now those who are referring the Mantra Pushpam book, this book, next line there is a correction. They have written Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami. It is not Tvameva, it is Tvameva. So the mantra goes like Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami.
Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami. Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami.
Vratam Vadishyami.
Vratam Vadishyami.
Satyam Vadishyami.
Satyam Vadishyami. Satyam Vadishyami.
Tanmamavatu.
Tanmamavatu. Tanmamavatu.
Tadvaktaramavatu.
Tadvaktaramavatu. Tadvaktaramavatu.
Avatu Mam.
Avatu Mam.
Avatu
Avatu Vaktaram.
Avatu Vaktaram. Avatu Vaktaram.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti. Om Shanti
Shanti Shanti.
Shanti.
Okay, thank you so much, Arvind. So this is the way it's traditionally chanted with the correct swaras. Those who have been practicing will be able to do it. And I suggest that you get into the practice, because chanting the Taittiriya Upanishad at least once a week or twice a week before the classes actually start will make you understand what we are saying better. Okay, the chanting is as important as the study, because unless the words are there in your head, what I am saying is not going to make any sense. It will be just, you'll hear it and then you'll forget about it. The words have to be there in your mind, and for that, chanting is very, very essential. So I'll start with something very basic, which all of us have learned. But then I think, since we have done quite a few Upanishads, and now we are starting on a more difficult one, I just want to, do a brief overview of a few points. Some of them are very elementary, like basic scriptures we know are the Vedas, the Pramanam, and broadly classified into Veda Purvaha and Veda Antaha. Veda Purvaha has also other names, Karma Kandam, and Karma Kandam is classified into, it classifies karma into three different types: Kaika Karma, Vachika Karma, and Manasika Karma. So Karmani actually in plural. Okay. So Manasika Karma is also called Upasana. So you can say Kaika Karma, Vachika Karma, and Upasana. This is how it's classified. And what does Veda prescribe these karmas for, this karmani for? Because from any karma, what you acquire is only karma phalam. So all these karmas are generally the instruments called sadhanam, the means for achieving different goals called sadhyam. So karma is sadhanam, and what is achieved is sadhyam. Thus, you have three means of karma, three ways of karma, that is kayika, vachika, and manasika, which we call sadhana trayam. There are three sadhana trayam, and therefore, obviously, you have three goals, three sadhya trayam. Okay, so the sadhana trayam, the three sadhanas, the three karmas, what are they meant for? Shastra says they are meant for three types of goals, three types of sadhyams. The first one is upadhi praptihi. So acquisition of a better upadhi, better body, a better mind, improvement of your sense organs, improvement of your mental faculties like focusing capacity, memory, etc. And therefore, these karmas are prescribed for improving our general life, improving the quality of our life, which means the physical aspects, the mental aspects, the intellectual aspects, and of course also the emotional health. So we can also take this upadhi praptihi as not only the improvement of the existing body mind sense complex which we have got, but also as a sadhana for generating punyam, so that when we replace these upadhis in the next life, of course, okay, like you can't replace them in this life. So when you replace them in the next life, you get a better set. So you get version 1.02, improved set of upadhis. Okay. So that's the first one, upadhi praptihi, acquisition of better body, mind, sense complex, better faculties in this life as well as in future lives. Because remember, we are still in karma kanda. Then the second sadhyam, the second objective is vishaya praptihi, improvement of objects of enjoyment. So better house, better job, better girlfriend, better boyfriend. Maybe not in this life, but also in the next life. Improvement of vishayas. Any vishaya is something which gives you enjoyment. So better relatives. Third one is lokaha praptihi. So you can take that as in this life itself, improvement of the environment in which the Upadhi and the Vishaya will interact. And if in this life that is possible, it is great. Otherwise, in the next life, you replace the Lokaha, you replace the world with a better environment. So, what all have you got? You got Upadhi Praptihi, Vishaya Praptihi, and Lokaha Praptihi. So, these are sadhana, sadhya trayam. So, you have sadhana trayam, vachika, kayika, manasika karma. You have sadhya trayam, which is the Upadhi Praptihi, Vishaya Praptihi, and Lokaha Praptihi. Shastra says that you can be happy only if all these three are favorable. Now, the important lesson that we have all learnt from living our lives is what? That any sadhyam, any goal which you get, has got an inherent deficiency. So, all goals are dosha yukta, connected with dosha, connected with defects. Now, these three goals which we have just outlined, Upadhi, Vishaya, and Lokaha, remember they all fall under the definition of preyaha, but none is shreyaha. So if you recall the discussions in Bhagavad Gita, there are two basic goals, preyaha, shreyaha. We also saw that in Katha Upanishad. So all these are preyaha goals, preyas, but not shreyas. And on inquiry, you will find that all these sadhya trayam, all these three goals are mixed with dosha trayam, with three types of defects. And we have said that many times, but I'll quickly repeat. One is dukkha mishritatvam, which means there is an effort, there is a pain in the acquisition of the goal, there is a pain in the preservation of the goal, and finally, there is the inevitable loss of the goal because of which you get pain. The first one is dukkha mishritatvam. The second one is atripti karatvam. No sadhyam, no anatma can ever give total fulfillment, because the moment you get one anatma, you will find that somebody else will have a better anatma, better goal, giving more enjoyment. And therefore, atripti karatvam, no sadhyam can ever give me total fulfillment, total tripti. Therefore, I will always be unsatisfied. If I get the first crore rupees, then my neighbor has 2 crores. If I get 2 crores, then the next building neighbor has got 5 crores. So, atripti karatvam, it can never be totally fulfilling. And the third one is bandhaka tatvam. When you use these sadhyams for your enjoyment, it might start off as a luxury, but soon you will begin to depend upon them. Soon for you, they will become an addiction, which means what? That you are moving or you are traveling from dependence to dependence only. You are not traveling in the direction in which Shastra recommends, dependence to independence. You are traveling only from dependence to dependence. Therefore, karma kanda, Shastra says, can give you praise, but not give you shreyas. If you want shreyas, you have to come to jnana kanda. And the one who understands this and who makes efforts to move from karma kanda to jnana kanda is called a mumukshuhu. And for him, the defect-free goal is what? Nirdosham Brahma. Brahman which has got no defects at all. And so Shastra, the scripture says, this very Upanishad says, Brahmavit apnoti paramam. The one who knows Brahman, he reaches the supreme. So that defect-free goal is Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, Nirdosha Brahman. Another name for that is Moksha. So Moksha and Brahman, they are not different. Then the question is, where do I go, or what road do I follow to acquire that Brahman? And Shastram says you can never acquire that Brahman because Tattvamasi, you yourself are that Brahman. So that which is to be acquired is in the form of the acquirer. Sadhaka rupena sadhyam vartate. Sadhaka rupena, the very form of the sadhaka is, or the sadhanam in that case, the acquirer is the acquired itself. That which is to be acquired is you yourself. If this is so, then what is the problem? Why am I unhappy? Shastra says that your idea of what you are, who you are, and what Shastra tells you that you are, these are very widely at variance. And therefore, begin an inquiry to find out what is your idea of yourself and find out what Veda tells you you are and use your intellect to figure out which idea is correct. The idea which I have about myself or which Veda tells me that I am. What are the instruments we have for acquisition of knowledge? We have a regular 5 pramanams: eyes, nose, all those things. But these 5 pramanams are useful for ascertaining knowledge about the external world only, because my 5 pramanams are incapable of showing me Brahman, because I am that Brahman. And just like my eyes cannot see themselves, I cannot see myself using my regular 5 pramanams. And for that knowledge, to be able to see myself as I really am, I need a pramanam called Vedanta, the Jnana Kandam, where there are Upanishadic words. So the Upanishadic Vakyas, the Shabda pramanam, only with that I will know who I am. Now, normally, if you are being taught something about a subject and if the teaching is not proper, then there will be a difference between the knowledge of the subject and the experience of the subjects. So knowledge, experience, dichotomy will be there. But in the case of Atma Jnanam, there is no difference between the knower and the known. And so this particular difference cannot come. And if the difference is coming, what does it show? That your teaching is not proper. And for that, what do? You have to go to somebody who can make the Shruti speak to you, who can make the Shruti talk to you. And the teacher alone can do that. A Sampradaya with teacher alone can do that. What is the method? He has to use 6 factors, which are called Shadlingani, the 6 indicators to arrive at the primary teaching. And this is called the Tattparyam. What the Shadlinganis are, we will be talking about during the course of this teaching. And using those Shadlingani, the 6 indicators, the teacher will help the student in discovering the primary teaching of the Veda. So this is a very important aspect. Veda covers many subjects. In fact, like the Bhagavad Gita, it covers karma, it covers upasana, it covers devotion, it covers shrishti, so many things it covers. But you have to use these 6 indicators to tell you what is the essential teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. What is the very essence that Krishna is trying to convey. And that essence in Sanskrit is called Tattparyam, the essential teaching. And to arrive at the Tattparyam, the 6 indicators are the traditional way of discovering the Tattparyam in any text. And the teacher will use this 6 indicators, Shadlingani, to arrive at the Tattparyam and show you what the Tattparyam is. And what is the Tattparyam? Tattparyam is Tattvamasi. You are already Brahman. And when the teacher says that, you should understand it as what? Aham Brahma Asmi. That Aham Brahma Asmi should become a fact for me. And until this Aham Brahma Asmi is driven into my subconscious, until it becomes a fact for me, which I don't have to consciously think about, the teacher has to consistently, continuously teach this again and again and again until the necessary depth is achieved by the student, until the student is convinced without any doubt. This is called Vedanta Vichara. Vedanta, Mimamsa, analysis. Remember, the idea of Vedantic teaching is not academic scholarship. All the analysis, which may look very, very academic, and is aimed at understanding every word of the Shastra, has only one tatparyam, that my own nature becomes clear to me as not different from Brahman. One more thing is, this knowledge comes only in Shravanam. And if this knowledge you don't get in Shravanam, then there is no other sadhana, including meditation, by which you will get this knowledge. And Shravanam is part of Jnana Yoga. Of course, you all know this, consisting of Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Shravanam can give knowledge. And if you have any doubts about what Shravanam is telling you, right? What does Shravanam tell you? You are Brahman. If you have any doubts, then that knowledge which has come through Shravanam has to be validated, not by any experience, which is a mistake a lot of people make. Shravanam tells me I am Brahman, and then they wait for an experience of Brahman. So it's a mistake. Validation of Shravanam knowledge cannot come through any experience. Why? Because the problem is intellectual. And since the problem is intellectual, the validation has to be intellectual. Therefore, there is no experience which can validate your knowledge that you are Brahman, which you have gained through Shravanam. That knowledge can be validated only through Mananam, which is what any doubts that you have can be resolved only through correct thinking. Remember that there are a lot of darshanas, like Yoga Sutras, which concentrate on Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And that is why Yoga Sutras are Dvaitic in nature. They are dualistic in nature, because Samadhi can never clear intellectual doubts. That clearance of intellectual doubts requires Mananam. What about Nididhyasanam? It consists of different types of exercises, you might say. The central aim of Nididhyasanam is what? Is dwelling on the teaching for two purposes: assimilation and internalization. And this dwelling, they can be done in many ways. All these are forms of Nididhyasanam only. So one is by repeated Shravanam, listening to that same talk again and again and again. Repeated Shravanam. Also by repeated reading of the teaching, especially reading of the notes that you write of the class. And that is why we keep on saying, don't end. The class doesn't end when it ends. You have to listen to it 2-3 times during the week and take serious notes. Those notes, if properly understood, whenever you read again, that will become Nididhyasanam for you. Then you can do another thing. You can write. You can try to write what you have understood out of memory. Writing with the intention of explaining. That is also Nididhyasanam. You can discuss between other Vedantics. That discussions between equals. That is also Nididhyasanam. You can discuss between senior students or between you and the senior student and you and the teacher. This is also Nididhyasanam. And finally, you can try to imitate the behavior of a Jivan Mukta, trying to understand what he is doing. In that understanding, if you are trying to understand the behavior, that is also Nididhyasanam. And then there is a totally different form of Nididhyasanam, which we call Samadhi Abhyasaha. This is sitting meditation. So Krishna talks about it, Vivikta Deva, Vivikta Desha Sukhasanam, etc. You have this description in 2 places. In chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita and in Kaivalya Upanishad also, where they talk about Samadhi. So Samadhi means focused or focusing, and Abhyasa is the discipline of the exercise. So which aspect of the teaching should I focus upon? Depends on what my problem is. Is it kama? Is it krodha? Is it lobha? Is it moha? Depending on what the problem is, I look for the related teaching from the Shastram and I meditate upon that teaching. For example, if I'm very emotional and my relationships affect me adversely, then I focus on the fact that I am Asanga Brahman. That Shastra tells me that I'm Asanga. And while focusing on that thought, then I try to figure out if I'm Asanga Brahman, how is it that I'm upset? And if I'm upset, what does it mean? That the teaching has not been assimilated. It has remained as words. Remember that Nididhyasanam is not for moksha. Why is it not for moksha? Because moksha is not a future event. And this Shravanam has taught you that you are Brahman. Tat Tvam Asi. Aham Brahma Asmi. The takeaway from Shravanam is what? That moksha is an established fact for me. I am free in spite of any situation which I face. My mind may react adversely to many situations. It may be angry, it may be fearful, it may be upset, it may be jealous. But if my mananam has been done properly, all these emotions in my mind, they should not shake my conviction that I am Brahman. Nididhyasanam is not meant for conviction. That is the job of mananam. Nididhyasanam is not meant for any type of extraordinary experience. Why? All experiences belong to Anatma only. Right? What about mystic experiences? Mystic experiences do exist. Even Shankaracharya accepts that they exist. And so we have no choice but to accept that. Since Shankara says, yes, mystic experiences exist, we must also accept that they exist. We may not have had any mystic experiences, right? But we cannot deny the fact that they exist. But Shankara says, when they exist also, it doesn't matter because they have no connection to the fact that you know you are Brahman. They have no connection to Atma Jnanam. A jnani can have mystic experiences. He need not have any mystic experiences, but he can still be moksha purushaha, nitya muktaha. And this transformation that is going to happen in your mind by practicing Nididhyasanam is not going to happen overnight. It will be a gradual process. How do I evaluate myself? We've already seen. There is the FIR tool. And based on the FIR tool, I evaluate myself. Therefore, we must understand very clearly what sadhana we are doing for what purposes. So that's a very general background. Any questions there? Nothing new has been said so far in half an hour. I've just repeated what all we have done in all our classes over the last 5 years.
Sir, a very basic question. Asanga means alone, like
No,
one alone which exists.
Sangha means connected. Sambandha. Asanga means without any sambandha, without any connections, without any relationships.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Now we look at a slightly technical subject. Okay. So far it's been very non-technical, but not good to be non-technical all the time. So we look at a very technical subject. You must have heard of various types of Sanskrit commentaries, bhashyams. And very often, most of us, they remain as words. We don't really know what they are. So I thought I would briefly talk about what are the different types of commentaries, bhashyams. So commentaries are in two forms. They are in verse form, poem form, and they are in prose form. There are two types of commentaries. And you will come across both in our study. In the metrical commentaries, in the verse form commentaries, there are two major types. One is called Vartika, Vartikam, and one is called Karikas. Okay, Vartikas and Karikas are bhashyams, a commentary on the Moolam, on some major text, but the commentator has chosen to write in the verse form. And there is a, okay, verse is V-E-R-S-E, okay, not W-O-R-S-E. Please remember, it's not worst form, it is verse, V-E-R-S-E, verse form. Now, what is the definition of a karika? The best definition is in Sanskrit. I'll just read it out for you. Karika is alpa aksharatve sati bahu artha vyapaka shlokaha. Okay, let's see what it means. Karika is a shlokaha, a commentary in verse form, in shloka form, alpa aksharatve sati, which in very few words, bahu artha gyapakaha, reveals a lot of meaning about those few words. It tries to explain in a few words, and if those words are expanded, it reveals all the possible meanings which are associated with those few words. So that is a karika. Now you also come across, especially when we study Mandukya Upanishad, we'll be studying the Mandukya Vartika also, Gaudapada's Vartika. So, sorry, karika, not Vartika. So we'll come across the karika. What is a Vartika? There's a difference between the karika and the Vartika. Karika is in verse form, but what it does is it reveals the complete meaning, but in minimum words. And that is why it's in verse form. It has to be compressed into a verse form. It has to have a particular meter. Then there is a Vartika. So Vartika is defined as Ukta, Anukta, Duraktanam, Chintam, Yatra Pravartate, Tam Grantaha, Vartika Prahuhu. So Tam Grantaha, Vartika Prahuhu. That text is called a Vartika, which does what? Yatra Pravartate, which talks about Ukta, what has been said, Anukta, what has been said where? Said in the original text. So it talks about the words appearing in the original text. Anuktaha, it talks about words which should have appeared but which have not appeared. So what is implied? So many of the texts will have implications. So it talks about the implied words which actually do not appear. And Duruktanam Chinta, words which appear there but which appear to have contradictory meanings. So what is said, what is not said, what is badly said. Okay, we cannot say badly said because it is Shastra. But then this is the definition. What is said in such a way that our limited intellects do not grasp. So that is called the Vartikam. You will come across Vartikams also. There are Karikas, there are Vartikas. So those are the two metrical type of commentaries. The two most, what do you call it? Famous ones, or most, in which we come across in most of the cases. Then there is the prose commentary. So prose commentary we can broadly divide into three: Bhashyam, Vyakhyanam, and Vritti. So Vritti, remember, is what? Is a thought. The normal meaning is a thought. But Vritti is also a technical word for a brief commentary. So you have a text like Vakya Vritti. So it's a commentary on Tattvamasi, Vakya Vritti. All right. So let's look at the Bhashyams first. The Bhashyam and the Vyakhyanam are elaborate commentaries. And Bhashyam means an elaborate commentary. Now there's a very specific meaning for Bhashyam. Bhashyam is an elaborate commentary on a basic text, Moola Grantha. And the condition for something to be a Bhashyam is what? It has got to be a sutra form. So if a Moola Grantha is in sutra form, then only the commentary can be called a Bhashyam. For example, the commentary on the Yoga Sutras, which is done by one gentleman called Vyasa, who is not our Acharya. That is called a Bhashyam. The commentary on the Brahma Sutra. The Brahma Sutra is a sutra form. And the commentary on that is called Bhashyam. Vyakhyanam is a commentary on a text, on a Moola text, on a basic text, other than sutra form, non-sutra literature. And therefore, strictly speaking, when we all say Shankaracharya Bhashyam for Bhagavad Gita, But Bhagavad Gita is not in sutra form. Therefore, strictly speaking, Shankara's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita is a Gita Vyakhyanam, not a Gita Bhashyam. But due to usage, we are using that particular name. Similarly, all commentaries on Upanishad, they are what? Vyakhyanam or Bhashyam? They are all Vyakhyanams only because Upanishads are not in sutra form. But conventionally, we use the term Bhashyam. So since we are talking about Vyakhyanams, what is the definition of a Vyakhyanam? It should have 5 components. Am I being very heavy? Is it very heavy? I hope not.
No, sir.
It's all good.
That's all good because it's going to get heavier. Okay, so you are just doing the initial weightlifting.
Acharya, may I ask a quick
Please.
question?
Please.
So you said Bhashyam is that commentary which is in sutra form,
No. Bhashyam is a commentary on a text which is in sutra form.
but the Bhashya itself is not in sutra form.
No, Bhashyam is prose.
That's what I wanted to understand, because if it is another sutra, then where's another Bhashyam for that would be required then.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's Bhashyam in sutra form.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now the Vyakhyanam should have 5 components. The first one is Padachedha. The second one is Vigrahan. Okay. What does Padachedha mean and Vigraha mean? Let's see. Now this is a very basic knowledge. Okay. So I am not going into a grammar thing basically because I am not qualified to teach grammar anyway. So we have combinations. A combination in Sanskrit is called Sandhi. Sandhi basically means a combination. That is why you have the word Sandhya. Sandhya means that time where there's a combination of the daytime and the night time. Twilight is called Sandhya. So Sandhi means a combination. And in Sanskrit, there are 2 types of combinations. One is called Sandhi itself, and that's a loose combination. Another type of combination is called Samasa, which is a very strong combination. So unraveling the Sandhi, unraveling the loose combination is called Padacheda. Unraveling the strong combination, unraveling Samasa is called Vigraha Vakyam. So unraveling Sandhi is called Padacheda. Unraveling Samasa is called Vigraha Vakyam. So what do we mean by loose combination? Well, we have to talk about the case endings. There is something called Vibhakti. I hope all of you are familiar with it. In Sanskrit grammar, something is called Vibhakti, which are case endings, right? Now, in a Sandhi, because it's a loose combination, when the Sandhi is broken, the case endings will remain intact. Vibhaktis will not change. They will remain intact. Okay, the Vibhakti can be roughly called what? Preposition. English grammar, preposition is Vibhakti. Okay. So, for example, you take Gurur Brahma. When you break up this, Gurur Brahma is a combined word. Gurur Brahma. The Ra indicates the combination where it is combined. And when you break it up, it becomes Guruhu Brahma. So that is a loose combination. It's a Sandhi. And when you break it up, it becomes Guruhu Brahma. The case ending Guruhu remains there. It doesn't go away. Right? Now, Samasa is a strong combination. And when they are broken up, the Vibhaktis are not evident. They remain unbroken. And therefore, the Vyakhyanam, the Vigraha Vakyam as it is called, you have to show the separation by incorporating the Vibhaktis, which are earlier hidden. Let me give an example. There is a line, Aneka Janma Samprapta Karma Bandha Vidahine. Where does it come? Any idea? Aneka Janma Samprapta Karma Bandha Vidahine. No idea at all. Anybody? We have done it.
Guru.
Guru Stotram. Now this is the samasa, right? It's a strong combination. Why is it a strong combination? When you break it up, you have to supply the case endings. For example, when I said Guru Brahma, it is obvious, like anybody who knows elementary meaning of elementary Sanskrit grammar also knows that the ra, gurur, that ra indicates a visarga. And therefore, when sandhi is broken, the ra converts back into visarga, so it becomes guruhu brahma. And therefore, the case ending remains as it is. It doesn't change, right? But here, the case endings are just not there. Aneka janma samprapta karma bandha vidayane. There are no case endings. So when you break this, which is a vigraha vakyam, you have to supply the case endings. Anekeshu janmasu sampraptanam karma rupanam bandhanam vidahine. So that case endings have to be supplied. When this is done, it's called a vigraha vakyam. Okay. Now these samasas, okay, not samosas. Samosas are for eating. Samasas are combinations. So in English also we have these samasas. For example, we say tooth powder. To make sense of that, what do you have to supply? Powder for the tooth. The for preposition is just like you are saying the case ending is being supplied. Like anekeshu janmeshu, you are saying, here you are saying tooth powder. Tooth powder for the tooth, right? So that is two things I talked about. What are they? They are sandhis and samasas. Then the third one is what is known as vakya yojana. The yojana means the arrangement for a vakya, the arrangement for a sentence. So in Sanskrit sentences, you will find that the syntax is very often missing. And therefore, the commentator has to rewrite the sentence and present it in a grammatical form, which means what? You insert missing verbs, you insert missing adjectives, you insert missing nouns. In some cases, there are no subjects. You insert the subject, you insert the object. All these things to make it into a proper grammatical sentence has to be done. That is called vakya yojana, the arrangement of the sentence. For example, in our prayer, Tvameva Mata Pita Tvameva, what is missing? Asi, you are. Asi, you are is missing. So you have to supply. Tvameva Mata Asi, Tvameva Pita Asi. In Sadashiva Samarambham, what is missing? In the prayer, what is missing? So you have to learn to think like grammatician. Will not work otherwise. You have to be a grammatically minded person. What do you mean? What does the prayer indicate? That you worship. Prayer indicates that I am worshipping the entire parampara. And so what is missing in Sadashiva Samarambha is Aham Vande. I worship you. I pay my obeisances. That is missing. That has to be supplied. So when you supply all this and make it into a proper sentence, that is called Vakya Yojana. That is 3. And the fourth one is Pada Artha and Vakya Artha. The meaning of the words have to be supplied. And not only the meanings of the words have to be supplied, when the words are put together, there is a Vakyam, the sentence. The meaning of the sentence also has to be explained. So that is the fourth one. And the fifth one is Akshepaha. The commentator has to talk about various objections which can come from various other darshanas, and you have to do a khandanam, refutation also, right? And this fifth one is the main one which differentiates Vyakhyanam and Vritti. Okay, you will find that the Vritti does not have Akshepa and Samadhana. Now, so these are the 5 Lakshanams, the 5 indicators of a Vyakhyanam. Now what? Next one is Vritti. Vritti covers the first 4 points which we talked about, but not the Akshepa and Samadhanam. Vritti does not talk about opposing philosophies and refutations. Now, we have already done Mundaka and Katha Bhashyams. While you may have thought that they are all very, very long, both Mundaka and Katha basically are Vritti Vakyams. They are in the form of Vritti itself. They are not Vyakhyanams. While in Kena Upanishad, when we discussed, you must have seen that we talked about the objections also. Therefore, Kena Upanishad considers this fifth feature also. Kena Upanishad is the Bhashyam is a Vyakhyana. Okay. My general talk is over. Any questions?
Acharya, could I ask you to just give the 5 indicators once again for what is a Vyakhyanam?
Vyakhyana, okay.
So there's something that I missed out. I'll go in reverse order.
Okay.
This Akshepa was the last one that we done.
Akshepa and Samadhanam or Khandanam.
Samadhanam.
Akshepa is objection, Samadhanam, Khandanam is the refutation. So that is 1 point, last one.
Right. Akshepa plus Samadhanam.
Yeah, Akshepa is the objection and you have to refute it. The objection and the reply or the refutation, that is the last one.
Right.
Before that is Pada Artha and Vakya Artha, which means the explaining the word meaning as well as sentence meaning. Then there is Vakya Yojana, the arrangement of the grammatical presentation of the sentence has to be made. Then there is Samasa and there is Sandhi Vichcheda. Pada Vichcheda. Right? These are 5.
Thank you,
Acharya. Okay.
Raviji.
Yes.
We didn't mention about Lakshyartha and you have the implied meaning of a sentence, or is that included in the 4th one under Padartha and Vakyartha?
That will come under the Uktams. All the meanings when they explain, they will talk about everything.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Now, we will begin with Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. Okay. Now, normally, Shankaracharya doesn't write any Mangala slokas in his Bhashyam. He begins with the mantra or the Shanti mantra of that particular text only. But here Shankaracharya apparently considers this a very, very important Bhashyam, very, very important Upanishad. So he starts with 3 Mangala slokas. Okay, I put those Mangala slokas for you in the group. I hope you've got them. These are not there in the text. This is part of the Bhashyam, but they are beautiful Mangala slokas. So we will chant them first. Please unmute yourself. I'll chant very slowly so we can chant. There are no swaras over here. They are simple chanting. Yasmad jatam jagat sarvam.
Yasmad jatam jagat sarvam.
Yasmin eva praliyate.
Yasmin eva praliyate.
Yenedam dharyate chaiva.
Yenedam dharyate chaiva.
Tasmai jnanatmane namaha.
Tasmai jnanatmane namaha.
Okay. This is the first Mangala sloka. It is addressed to Ishvara. And there are 2 definitions in the 2 lines. So one is the Tathastha Lakshanam, which is the, I hope you guys know what is the meaning of Tathastha Lakshanam and Swarupa Lakshanam. You're all advanced students, so I'm not explaining. Okay. If at all anybody doesn't know, please put it in the group. Somebody will explain to you. Maybe I or somebody else. Okay. So there are 2 definitions. One is Tathastha Lakshanam, Brahman as Jagat Karanam, Upadana Karanam. Okay. Where does the word Tathastha come from? Anybody? What does Tata mean?
It means a river bank, the bank.
It means a river bank. Tathastha Lakshanam means steady like the bank of a river. What is the meaning? When the river flows, the bank does not flow with it. Right? Bank remains tatastha. Bank remains where it is, and the river flows. Therefore, indicating that bank, is it the integral part of the river or not? Is it?
No.
No. Because if it was integral, it would flow along with the river. And therefore, Tatastha
Yes.
Lakshanam is that indicator of Brahman, which is not an integral part of Brahman, which means it may be there at times, it may not be there at times. Okay. So here Brahman is Jagat Karanam, Upadana Karanam, which is Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya Karanam. How does he say that? Yasmat Jatam Jagat Sarvam. Yasmat Jatam. From that Brahman, Jagat Sarvam Jatam. The entire Jagat has been born. And Yena Idam Dharyate Chaiva. By which Brahman, the Idam Dharyate, the entire universe is sustained, and Yasmin Eva Praliyate, into which Brahman alone, the whole universe will resolve. Tasmai, to that Brahman, Jnanatmane Namaha, to that Brahman I offer my Namaskara. Okay. Now, Tadastha Lakshanam, let us, though I said I won't explain, but anyway, let us say that I am living in a group of houses and you say, I want to come to your house, and all the houses look exactly the same. So you know, today's modern housing colonies, they are just duplications. So you have 25 houses and one of those houses is mine. And so you say, how shall I find your house? And I say, outside my house, you will find a blue car parked, right? So you use that as an indicator for coming to my house. Now that blue car is not a, permanent part of my house. It may be there, it may not be there, but that house continues to be mine and it remains there. So that which is not a permanent part, but it's an indicator. What is he saying? That the creation is not permanent part of Brahman, because creation comes and creation goes. Therefore, whenever the creation is there, that Brahman is the creator, the maintainer, and the resolver of that creation. But even when the creation is not there, that Brahman remains as Brahman. So this is Tatastha Lakshanam, that is indicating. From which, and these are three words, Yasmar Jagat Sarvam Jatam, the creation is born from that Brahman. Yena Idam Dharyate, that Brahman maintains the entire creation. And Yasmin Eva Praliyate, into that Brahman alone, the whole universe will resolve at Pralayam. So that is indicating the three aspects of Ishvara: creation, maintenance, resolution, which is there only when creation is there. But when creation is gone, Brahman is still there. What is the second type we said? One is Tatastha Lakshanam, one is Swarupa Lakshanam. Swarupa Lakshanam is that aspect of Brahman which doesn't go away, like the water in the river. As long as the river is there, water is integral part of the river. Wherever the river is found, water is found. And therefore this, he reminds of this by using Jnana Atmanaha. Jnana Atmanaha means Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Again, you will find this sloka, in this mantra, in this particular Upanishad only. And therefore, by using Jnana Atmanam, Shankara is reminding us about the Swarupa Lakshanam. The first Mangala sloka in the first line and part of the second line is the Tatastha Lakshanam. The last two words, he reminds us about the Swarupa Lakshanam also. Okay. Any questions? Very, very beautiful sloka. All right. So we will try to finish one more sloka, Mangala sloka. Please unmute yourself. Yairime gurubhi purvam
Yairime
Yairime
gurubhih
gurubhih
purvam
purvam
padavakya pramanataha
padavakya
padavakya
pramanatah
pramanatah
vyakhyatha sarva vedanta
vyakhyatas
vyakhyatah
sarva
sarva
vedantah
vedantah
tan nityam pranatosmyaham.
Nityam
nityam
pranatosmaham.
pranatosyaham.
Okay, this is the second namaskara, the second Mangala sloka, and Shankara is offering namaskara to the entire Guru Parampara. And it's a very important part of the text. It's a very important prayer because by using this prayer, Shankara is indicating that the Advaitam which he is teaching is not his own philosophy. And since he acknowledges with the following words, Ime sarva vedantaha vyakhyataha gurubihi. All these Vedantic words, gurubihi vyakhyataha, have already been commented upon. Vyakhyataha from the word Vyakhyanam, already been commented upon Gurubhi by earlier Gurus, by earlier Acharyas before me. And this is a very important indicator that there were earlier commentaries also. Normally we find the earliest commentary we find is what? We find of Gaudapada, the commentary on Mandukya Upanishad. But here these words indicate that there were many earlier bhashyams, earlier Shankara. Unfortunately, they are not available today. Okay. Anyways, it's an indication to that. And he says, Purvam Padavakya Pramanataha. And these commentaries in the past, Purvam, in the past, these commentaries which the Gurus had done, they were based on Pada Shastram, Pada Vakyam. Pada Shastram is Vyakaranam, grammar. And Vakya Shastram. So Pada Pramanataha, Vakya Pramanataha. They were based on Pada Shastram, grammar, and Vakya Shastram, Mimamsa analysis. So here he is pointing out that there is a difference between analyzing a word and analyzing a sentence. Pada Shastram is grammar, analyzing words, Vyakaranam. Vakya Shastram, technically we call Mimamsa Shastram, analysis of the sentences to tell us what is the Tatparya Nirnaya, what is the final Tatparyam of that particular sentence. And for this, we use the Shadlingani, the 6 indicator rules that we have talked about. And the third one, so Pada, Vakya, and Pramanataha. There are 3 words. Pada indicates Pada Vakyam, Pada Shastram, Vakya indicates Vakya Shastram, and Pramanataha indicates logic, Nyaya Shastram or Tarka Shastram. And therefore, in the analysis of these works, of these texts, Shankara says that the earlier Acharyas have done the analysis using words, using sentences, and also using logic. And since Shankara is basing his work on all the works of all the previous Acharyas, remember this Mangala Sloka means what? That I am taking no credit for my work. I am just repeating what the earlier Acharyas have said, and therefore he gives namaskara to them. And he says, Aham Nityam Tan Pranataha Asmi. So, Tan Nityam Pranato Asmiyam has to be broken as Aham Tan Nityam Pranataha Asmi. I regularly do namaskara to them. This is what he says. And therefore, there is a small little sentence in Sanskrit which we always say. Bhavadvaitam sada kuryat, kriyadvaitam na kutrachit, advaitam trishu lokeshu, na advaitam guruna saha. So, bhavat dvaitam sada kuryat. In your behavior with the world, you should always have the dualistic approach. Kriyadvaitam na kutrachit. But in acting, when doing a karma, Never have Dvaitam. Don't think that I am the doer. Advaitam Trishu Lokeshu. Be an Advaitik towards the whole world. Na Advaitam Guruna Saha. Do not ever go and tell your Guru, oh Guru, you and I are the same. Towards the Guru, you should always be respectful. And therefore, the meaning of this is Advaitam should be in attitude and understanding only, but never in action. And Advaitam is the truth of all the three worlds. But towards your Guru, you should never show Advaita. So with this, we'll stop. In the next, we'll start with third Mangala Sloka, where the intention of writing this text is presented. Okay. With this, we'll stop for the day. Any questions?
Sir, may I request you to post this last shloka in the group, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Om Acharya ji.
Om Jun.
In the Mangala, in the second Mangala Shloka.
Yeah.
Sorry, the first one, the last part, Jnanatmanaha. This is the Swarupa Lakshanam.
Jnanatmanam refers to the definition of Brahman as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, which you will find in this particular Upanishad.
Okay, thank you.
That is the Swarupa Lakshanam, because Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, it doesn't go away. That is the Swarupa Lakshanam.
Thank you.
So with this, we'll stop. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om Om.
Thank you so much.